Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So today we're doing another ranking video in terms of Spider-Man Brand New Day, and today is MCU phases 4 to 6, all movies. I'm very excited. I will do a Infinity Saga phase 1 to 6, including TV shows when Doomsday comes out. That's my plan. Because I will be doing reviews for MCU phases 1 and the stuff that I've missed in 4, 5 and 6 that I haven't reviewed yet. So be on the watch for that. That'll be coming in a few months. At number 15 we have Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania movie. Walking out of it, I liked it. I didn't love it, but I actually liked it. I was more positive than negative on it. This movie has aged very poorly for me, where like I watched it twice since then and I haven't quite rocked with it, but I haven't really moved my score because I'm like, I still like Paul Rudd. He's still very funny in these. I still like some aspects of things that they do in the quantum realm. I still like Evangeline Lilly as Wasp. I like Michelle Pfeiffer's character actually exploring the quantum realm and showing where she's been for however many years. So like there are aspects of it I like. I really love the whole scene at the beginning, the welcome back scene, where Scott's walking and he tells him what his life has been. It's reading the book and everything. And also I love the ending where it's basically the beginning, but and they're in the restaurant and he sees all the canes and stuff. Like, that was sick and was like, oh my god, what? Kane is still out there? But this comes to another point of me saying Kane's still out there. Because they kill Kane with freaking ants, which is bloody annoying to me. In the theater I thought it was cool because I was like, well, they're bigger, the ants are bigger in the quantum realm, which everyone else, like Scott and Cassie and all those guys are smaller because they need to be smaller to go into the quantum realm. And like, I kind of get the ants being bigger because they're already smaller in the real world. I get that. But like, it's also one of those things where it's like, you defeated this bloody dude that you're bloody setting up for Avengers Kane Dynasty with freaking ants. Like, what the hell? And then the post-credit scene happened and you're like, oh my god, what is going on? And then you get the one after that, and it's the Loki one from Loki Season 2 where he sees Victor Timely. And then like the whole stuff with Jonathan Majors happened and things like that, and you're like, what is going on? Like, so it's like no wonder why they were like, oh, you know what, we're not going to recast, let's just scrap Kane entirely and go with Doom. So like there are bits and pieces that I like about Quantumania, but it's one that has aged very poorly because of the stuff going on that happened with Jonathan Majors and the stuff that happens with Kane and stuff like that. Like, it's aged very poorly, even though that there are some scenes in it that I actually do like. At number 14 we have Black Widow. This movie used to be one of the movies at the bottom of my MCU rankings because I tried watching it. I liked it in the theater, but then I watched it another time and I was like, nah, that's not really that good. And then I watched it another time and I was actually like, oh, that's actually not that bad. I think the stuff that is really strong is, of course, Scarlett Johansson as, I almost said Yelena, as Natasha Romanoff. She's always great. I think that, yeah, I can understand why people think that Yelena is a Ben Ridden character, but I still like Natasha. I think that she's great. I think that okay, so Red Guardian, David Harbour is funny in Black Widow. The one that has grown on me, that annoys me in this movie, to be honest, is Yelena. Yelena in Black Widow has a different, I don't know what it is. She seems like a different character than what she is later. Like, when you watch her in Hawkeye or Thunderbolts or, spoiler alert, Brand New Day, you're like, oh, I actually like this character. Why am I liking her? She's such a badass. But I think there's something about the Black Widow version of that I'm just like, I'm not really digging this. I don't know what it is. Like, when she's blown on the windowsill, I should be laughing at that, but I'm just going like, really? Like, that's what you're doing for that scene? Okay. But But I do like Yelena as a character. I think she got better in Hawkeye, and then I liked her more in the movies from Hawkeye onward. But Black Widow, like, yes, the final battle is not great. The green screen is not that great. I think that the stuff that gets me is the family dynamics between all four of the Romanovs. Like, that's great. I love the opening, how it feels like a more of a darker MCU movie. And I also love how this movie takes place after Civil War. So, like, if you want to watch it in the Infinity Saga, you can. Like, it takes place after Civil War, before Infinity War. Like, it is a little disappointing that, like, you're like, okay, this whole movie is just basically a whole stepping stone to explain why Natasha Romanoff got a green vest for Infinity War. That is really annoying to me, but it's also one of those things where it's like, there's more stuff I like about this movie than I don't. I do think that the action is amazing. I love the whole car chase scene. I do like bits of the final battle, but like the final battle overall was a bit of a disaster. Like, I don't mind the flying out of the sky stuff, but like, it's also one of those things where it's like, it's a video game. It's just a video game. You're watching a video game, which is bonkers to me. But yeah, and then like, it's crazy that I like Red Gunny as much as I do, because like him and Yelena both, even though that I do like Red Gunny I do like Red Gunny in Black Widow, but like there's something about him and Yelena that is better. I think they're better written in Thunderbolts, and I think that's what gets me excited about like in terms of the new Avengers, gets me excited for Doomsday is because of their relationship. So yeah, I really like Black Widow. It's grown a lot on me since I last watched it. At number 13, we have Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I think that this is a really good movie. This movie, you gotta remember, this is a movie that they are basically trying to, within universe, basically explain that Chadwick Boseman, R.I.P., T'Challa is gone. And they had to do that in the movie, because otherwise it's like, oh, where's T'Challa? So you had to do that in universe, which I get. And it was one of those things where it's like, you can tell that Ryan Coogler wanted to do that story, but then the MCU was like, oh, we need to introduce Riri Ironheart so then we can set up her having her own show later. And you can really feel that. You're like, oh my god, really? Like, can't you just let Ryan Coogler cook? Like, come on. Like, this is ridiculous. So, it's one of those things where it's like, you watch it and you're like, okay, this is like, there's good stuff in here, but overall, it doesn't really work because of the mixed match between the stuff that Ryan Coogler is trying to do and the stuff that Marvel Studios is trying to do with this movie. It felt very much like Spider-Man 3 or TASM 2, where like, both of these things are feeling very mishmash of like, what's going on in this movie. But, like I said, the action is really good. I love the action in this movie. I love the whole scene where Shuri, Okoye, and Riri escape and things like that, and then they get caught by the Lanterns on the bridge. Like, that was cool. Seeing Valentina in this movie, that was another thing I forgot about. Was seeing her was so good. I loved that. And eventually seeing her up to be in Thunderbolts was so good. And, like, obviously, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, this movie feels like a funeral, but it's a well-made movie. It's boring because it feels like a funeral. And that's the only reason why. It's not boring because they're trying to make it boring. They're trying to make it feel dull and, in kind of a weird way for within the universe, because they're trying to explain why T'Challa is not there anymore, which I really like, but I don't think it's like a high bar thing in terms of the MCU movies because of that, because of how slow it is. Which I totally understand why it's slow, but it's one of those things where it's like, it's still pretty slow. Coming in number 12 is Shang-Chi. Now, to be fair, I really like Shang-Chi. I'm just not as high on Shang-Chi as other people are. I think that the fights are great. Dustin Daniel Crain did a great job at directing this movie, and the fact that the fight scenes took a lot of inspiration from Jackie Chan movies and things like that. Simu Liu is great as Shang-Chi. Like, yeah, I can kind of see people's nitpicks with Awkwafina. I will say this, I do like seeing Travis Slattery again after Iron Man 3. Getting a proper Mandarin was really sick. I like the whole final battle. I do understand people's complaint of it turning into a CGI dragon battle. The first time I was like, oh wow, cool. And then the more I hear that complaint, I'm like, yeah, I get that, because it feels very grounded before that. Like, from the bus fight onward, it felt very grounded. So I can see why people don't like that kind of the spiritual aspect of Shang-Chi. But I think that Shang-Chi is a very, very good movie. I think that's one of those movies that the more I rewatch it, I'll probably more say the same, going like, yeah, I can't go any higher with this, but I still really like it. I don't think, like, overall in the MCU, I don't think that there is a bad MCU movie ever. So, but I think Shang-Chi is a really, really good one. Coming from a step up from that, at number 11 we have Captain America Brave New World. I really like Brave New World. I think that this movie gets way overhated. This movie was better than I expected it to be. Like, walking into it, right, I was actually more excited for this movie than both of the other movies coming out that year, which I actually ended up liking more, right? But I still liked Brave New World. I thought that the biggest problem that I had with this movie was that it's basically, you're doing a sequel to the Captain America movies, but you're doing a first, like, depending on how many movies you want to do with Sam Wilson as Cap. You're doing his first movie as Captain America, but you're doing it in an Incredible Hulk sequel. That's the movie's biggest problem, is that it's like, okay, let's continue with the General Ross plot line. Let's reference and have Liv Tyler, Liv Tyler, her photo at the beginning, her voice during the middle, and then we actually see her at the end. So the fact that you get that is a little disappointing, because it's like, okay, this feels very Incredible Hulk 2-ish, and then like you have, so it's like, it's one of those things where it's like you watch it, because the great stuff is that I love how we have basically a Top Gun in the MCU. I love how it was basically very Top Gun. You're going, like, you're flying with Sam and walking Torres and things like that, and it's like, that stuff is so cool. And like the spy espionage aspects, I love how it feels very much like Winter Soldier, and it's a very grounded spy espionage movie. I love that. I thought that was great. You can tell some of the scenes were reshoots or green screen, which is very obvious. But I thought that the action was good. Like, when they dropped that fight scene on YouTube of that first fight scene when he is looking for the bigger guy, you're like, why did you have to release that? Like, did you think that that scene was bad, so you're kind of lowering people's expectations for this movie? But like, there's nothing wrong with that fight, so I don't know why that was the scene to pick, which was very, very weird to me. But anyway, and also, so, Red Hulk, I love Red Hulk. I love how he was in that movie. I do wish that we only saw that first teaser of Brave New World where we see him catching the Captain America shield and throwing it down onto the ground. Because then it's like, oh shit, Red Hulk's in it. And then you don't market him at all in the next two trailers. Because the trailers kind of... Because the way that it's, especially on that scene on the boat with Sam walking Torres and General Ross, and the leader's talking to Ross through the headphones, and like Harrison Ford is leaning up against the wall and his eyes are going all crazy and stuff. Well, you're like, oh, is he going to turn into Red Hulk? But the problem is that you've seen all the bloody Red Hulk stuff because it was in the trailer. He doesn't turn into the Red Hulk in the ocean. He turns it into when he's turns into Red Hulk at the White House. So it's one of those things where you're like, really? Come on, like, that's kind of silly. And the other problem too is that, like, I think that the final battle between him and Cap is great, but the problem is that, like, I would expect when Sam's getting beaten down, I was expecting like Hulk, shoot, even bloody Smart Hulk, to rock up and help Sam with the fight. Because that is the way to basically do your Incredible Hulk Part 2 without having Hulk as a main character. So then you basically have him teaming up and whatever. So like that would have been a good way to go, but unfortunately they didn't go that way. So like you see that movie and you're like, oh, we need Hulk to be in this. Like, and I agree, we need Hulk to be in that, because for Hulk to be in Brave New World will make so much more sense. And I think that having the Hulk stuff and not putting all of the Red Hulk stuff in the trailer would have made the movie so much better. So it's one of those things where it's like, I can't get people's complaints, but I like Brave New World. I see that there's many positives to it. I do wish that the end credits scene was a bit more, because it's just basically your typical tease of like, oh, something's coming, something big's coming. But it's one of those things where it's like, because last year was the year of putting end credits to set up Doomsday. We got a great one in Fantastic Four. We got an even better one in Thunderbolts. But Thunderbolts came first before Fantastic Four. But anyway, but yeah, no, the end credits to Cat 4, like, even though I liked it, I thought it was fine. It was nothing. Like, it was just your typical, like, oh, something's coming, which I expected more. So I was like, oh, okay, really? Come on. But no, other than that, Brave New World is really, really good. So I really enjoyed Brave New World. Number 10 is Eternals. Yes, I finally watched Eternals. I'm going to be very vague with this, okay? Because my review is going to come up later leading up to Doomsday. So I'll say this. My friend Luke, who you all know, he's been on the channel many times with me. Me and him sat down to watch Love and Thunder at his place, because he hadn't seen it yet. And I was like, oh my god, dude, it's really good. But I was afraid that he was not going to like it. But he didn't. But he said to me then, he was like, that was way better than Eternals. And I was like, oh, okay. I really wanted to see Eternals. Because I was like, at that point, I was kind of like, I'm not quite sold on that movie. But, because by the trailer, to be honest, I was more excited to see Angelina Jolie be part of the MCU. I was excited to see Salma Hayek in the MCU. And it was very exciting to me that, like, even getting all these like actors that like not a lot of people knew. And you gotta remember too that this was very much one of those movies where it was like a Guardians of the Galaxy, where it was like, okay, who are these characters? Like, because it felt very Guardians in that way, because like no one knew who the Eternals were. Like, yeah, some people knew the Eternals, but not a lot of people did. So it was very much like, okay, is this movie gonna be good? Because it's very much like, because when Guardians came out, you gotta remember, people were like, oh, Guardians of the Galaxy, is this gonna be Marvel's first bomb? People weren't really going in with that attitude, but that's how they came out of it, really, which was very interesting to me. And I was like, oh, that's a bit weird. Like, they didn't go in with that mindset, they came out of it with that mindset. That's interesting. Which normally it's the reverse. But yeah, like, Eternals is an interesting one. I will say this. I loved the action. I loved Kumail Nanjiani. I also liked in the movie. I thought there was a lot of interesting things in the movie. I think that, like, it was better than I expected. The end credits scenes, even though that I do like the Harry Styles one, and I love the one with Blade, they're not going to go anywhere. It's like, they're cool scenes, like as in just scenes to watch, but they're not going anywhere, which is a problem because they cancelled Blade, so they're not going anywhere. And I doubt that the Eternals are coming back. As much as I want to see them again in Doomsday or Secret Wars, they're not going to, because of how much that bombed. So I mean, I hope we get a sequel someday, because then people might like the sequel, but I don't think it's ever going to happen. But yeah, those are my general thoughts on Eternals. I will do a more in-depth one leading into Doomsday. Coming at number 9, we have the Marvels. Now, the Marvels, I really liked the Marvels. The Marvels, to me, was a movie that was going to get a lot of hate no matter what. Because Captain Marvel came out, people were excited to see Captain Marvel, then they were like, oh, it's the worst MCU movie. People were more excited than Captain Marvel, but also people were just hitting the dislike button. Like, over and over, it was like, oh my god, like, is this going to be every freaking movie? With every movie that has our lead character as a female, is the internet just going to whinge and just go like, oh, the MCU, which unfortunately that's how it's been. I wish the internet would stop doing that, because there's we can have female superheroes, right? Having their own movies, like, because like the thing about this one is that this one felt like we were getting rushed to. We weren't getting rushed because we were basically getting a Captain Marvel 2, and we were basically tying in all these characters like Michael Rambeau, who was previously in, her kid was, the little girl version of her was in the first Captain Marvel, but the grown-up version was in WandaVision. So, and at the end of that, at the end of WandaVision, the Skrulls were like, oh, Nick Fury wants you in space. So, we kind of knew that that was happening. And then Miss Marvel, the Miss Marvel show was great. And then the end was basically Captain Marvel rocking up in Miss Marvel's apartment. House, sorry. And I was like, oh wow, we're actually getting a crossover like this soon? Like, this is crazy. So, I liked how we basically got a small little Avengers kind of thing of tying all these things together and having a event. But unfortunately, people just didn't like it because it was just a bunch of women. So I think it's one of those things where it's like, this is a very fun movie. The jokes really works for me. The action was great. It was like, yes, it was chaotic having them jump from place to place, but that was also part of the point. It was chaotic for them, it was chaotic for us, but then once they were able to control it, they were like, okay, we can all control it now. Which was very, very good. So, I actually really liked that. Obviously, Brie Larson was great in this movie. She was even better than she was in the first movie. Michael Rambeau was still great. I loved her in WandaVision. The standout is obviously Iman Vellani as Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel is, like, such a great show, and her character, I'm excited to see her if she shows up in Doomsday or Secret Wars, one or the two. But yeah, I'm very excited to see her future as this character, because that has been one of the bright lights in terms of the fandom, the Marvel fandom, after, like, during the MCU era, was people are like, oh, we love Iman Vellani as Miss Marvel. We love Iman Vellani. Like, she is so good, and I hope that she gets to be in more Marvel projects, shows and movies. Like, she is just absolutely amazing. So, coming in number 8, we have Fantastic Four: First Steps. This movie, if you guys see my review, this movie was very, like, I really liked it. It was better than what I expected, but I was a little disappointed in it. I actually did like the action. The action in all the Marvel movies are really, really good. Even the bad ones. But the thing with this one is that I think the family was really, really great. I think that Galactus was one of your more weaker ones, but it was better than what it was in Rise of the Silver Surfer, which I do like Rise of the Silver Surfer, but I'm not a big fan of making him a goddamn cloud. Yeah, and then, like, the thing is, too, is that, like, if you guys, because Fantastic Four, I was covering constantly before the movie came out. I wasn't quite sold on the casting, on the cast of the movie. Like, Emma Moss Backrack as the thing I was fine with, because I was like, yeah, it's fine if you get a gnome name for the thing, because it's mainly all CGI and, like, voiceover stuff. Joseph Quinn, I was like, really? You just gain a guy because he's popular on Stranger Things. I didn't watch Stranger Things at the time, so I didn't know if I was going to like his character or not, but I was like, really? I don't see this guy as the Human Torch. And then Vanessa Kirby, I only saw her in Hobbs and Shaw, which I thought was really, really good, but I don't think it was a great, amazing movie by any means. But then, like, obviously, Reed Richards, I was like, oh, okay. sure, Pedro Pascal, like, I mean, I was kind of sick at seeing him goddamn everywhere, because he was in Wonder Woman 84, he's in The Mandalorian, he's in, like, all these different things. But actually watched it, I actually did like the cast. The only one that I was still kind of iffy on was Johnny Storm, Joseph Quinn. But I am excited to see how much they grow into that. And I also liked how it was in a different universe, and how, like, because you're in the Multiverse Saga, and I'll kind of talk about this when we talk about Brand New Day, but if you're in the Multiverse Saga, like, yeah, do things that are street level, like your Thunderbolts and your Spider-Man Brand New Days and stuff. But do stuff that's more multiversal, like, even if it is a sequel to, like, No Way Home, even in another Spider-Man sequel, do another Spider-Man movie with Tobey and Andrew, because the point of the Multiverse Saga is literally to set up a crossover that's going to happen bigger than all three of your Spider-Mans coming into one movie. So it's like, if you had, or even if you had post-credit scenes of basically your Spider-Man will return, but you do it with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man going, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man will return, or you go like with the Marvels, you go like the Marvels will return and things like that. So you do that to give audience hope of like, oh, okay, this is where we're going to. We're going somewhere. But I think Fantastic Four being in a separate universe was really, really good, and it gave the movie a different aesthetic. And the director is the director of one of my favorite TV shows of all time, one of my favorite Marvel MCU projects, WandaVision. So I was really excited for that aspect, but I wasn't necessarily too excited for the cast. But once I saw it, I was like, no, this is great. And I love the Michael Giacchino theme. I thought that was great. I like seeing a proper Galactus. I didn't mind seeing the female Silver Surfer, to be honest. I thought that was very, very strong. And obviously that end credit scene was amazing. Seeing Sue and Franklin together, and then she goes and gets another book, and then when she comes back, she turns on, she uses her powers because she can see someone going like, oh god, what's happening? And then you actually see Franklin touching Doom's face, and then Doom's holding the mask, and you're like, oh my god, Doomsday! That's right around the corner! Literally. So, but yeah, no, I thought that Fantastic Four was absolutely great. I love Fantastic Four. Number 7 is Thunderbolts. I really like Thunderbolts. I'm not as high on Thunderbolts as other people are, but I will say, Thunderbolts to me, it was a much different MCU movie, because this movie was meant to be more realistic than any other movie in the MCU, because it was dealing with depression, and mental health. So having that alone made me go like, oh, this is going to be very interesting to see, like, what's going to happen in this movie, because you have, like, that whole opening with Yelena on top of the second tallest building in the world, and doing that stunt, you're like, oh my god, what is going on? And then you have obviously the cast is amazing, and like, I love seeing Ghost back, because Ghost was actually one of my favourite characters in Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I actually really enjoyed that movie more than a lot of people do. And I thought that she was actually a pretty good villain, that a lot of people were like, oh, she's kind of weak, which I thought that she was actually very strong. So seeing her again, I was like, yes, like, please give me more Ghost. Seeing Bucky was very cool, because like, he's actually one of the few characters that in every phase he pops up in, and he has an overarching storyline. Which is great. And John Walker, he grew on me more. I liked him more in Thunderbolts than in Falcon Winter Soldier. I liked Bob. Bob was a great character to introduce. Like, Yelena and Red Guardian grew on me since Black Widow, so I already liked Yelena in Hawkeye, so seeing her in Thunderbolts was absolutely amazing. It was a very dark movie, and like, seeing the whole concept of the Void and things like that, it's like, oh my god, what's going to happen? This is bonkers. So that was crazy to me. And like, having Taskmaster there only for like those few, like that one scene when they all meet up and they're all killing each other, and John Walker just basically shoots her through the head. It was just like, Jesus, what? And like, the fact that she's like always she was on the red carpet and things like that. You're like that was the whole awkward thing too. Like a lot of people were just like, why are you here? You get shot in like the first like 20 minutes because in a lot of the trailers, like that shot where they're all together, and they're looking at Val like very angrily, you can just see Taskmaster like clearly copy and paste in the background. So you're like, and it also didn't help that we got the chair announcement for Doomsday before Thunderbolts came out. So you had that whole thing, and like you had the Thunderbolts music in that, and you didn't get Taskmaster in that, so you're like, yeah, she's dead. But yeah, no, and I thought that it was a great movie. I think that it's one of those ones where like it's a better movie than some of these other ones I have higher than it, because it's better well made and it's a better story. But to me, and one of these other ones that make me feel the same way, I have a bit higher, and I have a bit higher, but I prefer watching that than Thunderbolts. I prefer watching the fun Marvel movies than like the ones that actually make me depressed. If that makes sense. But we'll get to that other one later. But Thunderbolts is at number 7. Number 6, we have Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. This movie grows on me every time I watch it. I'm a big Sam Raimi fan. I love his Spider-Man trilogy. I actually do like his Evil Dead movies. I'm not as high on them as a lot of people are, but I actually do like the Evil Deads. But like this movie, I think that this movie is really good when it's dealing with the horror aspects of the Marvel Universe. Like, because Sam Raimi is great with horror. You watch like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, and like his stuff with the Goblin, like his first Goblin bit, and Goblin's having the seizure while he's turning into the Goblin. That's very scary. And when he grabs the scientist by a friend, is like, back to formula, and things like that. That's pretty scary. The whole hospital thing in the second one with Doc Ock is also pretty scary. So Sam Raimi's very good with horror, and I think that Doctor Strange is a great character. And like I knew that Sam Raimi was going to make a better movie, because the first one was very much like, the first one was a bit too weird for me. So like I kind of knew that if Sam Raimi did the second one, I was like, oh, this is more exciting. The fact that this is connected to WandaVision also got me excited. Now, let's talk about that. Wanda is a great villain. I love Wanda as a villain in this movie. I think that her story was actually, like, if you actually watch WandaVision, you kind of knew that her story was gone there. Because by the end of it, she had the Darkhold, she was looking for her kids. Like, you kind of knew that it was going to end up bad for her when it got to Multiverse of Madness. And sure enough, it got bad. So when people are going like, oh, you took her from point B to Z. And it's like, no, they didn't. They didn't actually. If you actually watch WandaVision and actually watch that story, and especially that end credit scene at the end of the finale, I was like, oh shoot, she's looking for her kids. This can't end well. So the fact that this actually ties into Multiverse of Madness with her looking for her kids and things like that. Like, yeah, sure, they don't mention Vision, which that was very strange. But I thought that was a very, very compelling storyline, was Wanda doing that. I thought that was very, very strong. And then you also have, like, I actually didn't mind the Illuminati stuff. Yes, like, it was stupid that all of them got killed off. But seeing Professor X, seeing John Krasinski as Reed Richards, which I hope in another multiverse he comes back for Doomsday or Secret Wars. But we actually get Hayley Atwell as Captain Carter, which I didn't mind Captain Carter. Captain Carter was not the main complaint I had about What If. If anything, she was the highlight for me. I actually liked her episode. My problem with What If was that it was like that first episode with Captain Carter was like, oh, we're going to basically do all the movies, but basically, what if this went this way, except for this went this way? But then it got into a whole weird thing where they were kind of half doing it, like the T'Challa Star-Lord and things like that. I was like, what are you doing? This is not what If was meant to be. But seeing Hayley Atwell in there was great. The stuff with Mordo was very cool. I also really liked I loved America Chavez. I thought she was very good. And like obviously seeing Wong and Strange have a bit of a common ground, a bit of a friendship was also very cool to see. And I loved seeing that. I thought that was great because Sam Raimi does a great job with the camera work, and seeing the camera work within this movie was really cool, and seeing all the horror stuff like the Doctor Strange going inside of his dead self in 616 and things like that, and all of the obviously the eyeball stuff of yanking the eyeball out was great, and obviously the bit when Wanda's looking through all the reflections and stuff, that was creepy. Like look for one reflection and then like she starts crawling through the big symbol thing in this in Comatage, like that was freaky as hell. I loved all that. I thought that was amazing. I thought Sam Raimi does great with action. So the action, of course, was great. So I love Multiverse of Madness. I think it's so underrated. At number 5, we have Thor: Love and Thunder. This movie is one of those movies that people kind of look at it the wrong way. Because to me, like I've kind of talked about this in if you watch my video of Shakespearean Thor versus comedic Thor, I go into all this, but just to summarize for this, just to give a bit of my opinion on this movie, will kind of it's interesting because Love and Thunder to me, like the first time I watched it, I was like, oh that was pretty good. I didn't love it as much as Ragnarok, but I actually liked it. But then the more I watched it, the more I was like, you know what, I actually really dig this movie. I love Taika Waititi, I like things like Under the World People, obviously Ragnarok. The thing is with Love and Thunder though, is that after Ragnarok, I kind of expected a movie like this. I expected more of the comedic stuff. Like when you start Ragnarok off with, oh, Thor's in the cage, how this happened? Like that's funny. So when you start with, like, on the Thor side of Thor doing the whole, like of Korg doing the whole narration of, like, Thor, we need, he was just waiting for someone to come up to him and say, Thor, we need your help to win this battle, and then Stellar goes like, Thor, we need your help to win this battle. I thought that was absolutely funny. And I think the thing is, too, is, like, Love and Thunder, I view as, because, especially since you watch the trailer does the narration by by Korg, at the beginning of one of the trailers. And when it does that in the movie, I actually see that movie as Korg telling that story within the movie, because it starts with him narrating and ends with him narrating. So I actually see that as a whole story of Korg telling the kids this story about Thor and what mission they had to do. So, like, in my head, after you cut to the Guardians, when you cut to the Guardians, after Thor does the hop on the bloody, hops on Stormbreaker and rides off like a bloody wizard, like Harry Potter, like, I'll be, like, hurry up! I thought that was funny. But, no, like, I actually see, because Korg goes like, he just wants on the cones and go like, Thor, we need your help to win this battle. Then Star-Lord says it, and then so like when you catch the Guardians, I actually hear Korg in my head going like, but was it really that hard for the Guardians? Because Thor just ends up beating them all. Yes, it's a little silly that he does the Van Damme splits, but I was actually laughing at that. The only thing that didn't work for me comedy-wise was the goats. I laughed the first, like, when they were on the ship, but that's all. I only laughed when they were on the ship. On the Guardian ship. And then, like, I thought that, but here's the thing, because the emotional stuff in Ragnarok is like the, are you the god of hammers, and Mjolnir dying, and things like that. So that to me is replaced with the Gore storyline, which the Gore storyline very compelling. It's also replaced with the Jane storyline, that's also very compelling, of her dying of cancer. So you have the emotional stuff in there. People just look at the comedic stuff going like, oh, the comedic stuff didn't really work for me. It's like, well, look at the emotional aspects of it. Look at the action. Like, Tiger does action like it's crazy to me. Like, when you watch the action, especially on the Shadow Realm and the where all the gods are and stuff, that is amazing action set pieces. And even the action with the kids was a great action scene, which I loved. I thought that was absolutely amazing, and I think that, like, it's so cool seeing Thor being Thor. Like, yes, he is a bit of a goofball at the start, but I think that, like, yes, yeah, I can see that everyone doesn't like Thor at the beginning because Thor is very not serious at the beginning of the movie. Like, he's more serious than he's not. Like, when he sees, like, the whole thing with Sith at the beginning, that was very serious. Like, when he's with the Guardians and he sees Sith and he realizes that he needs to go and see if Sith is okay, that's actually very serious with him. Like, yes, he tells a joke, but also, like, Ragnarok does that type of jokes all the time, so I wasn't offended by that like a lot of other people were. So, yeah, that was kind of a weird thing to me. But yeah, I think Love and Thunder is a movie that gets misunderstood, and I would love to do a whole video essay or breakdown of Love and Thunder of going like why people misunderstand Love and Thunder. So yeah, like I like Love and Thunder. I think that's a really good movie. I think it's a strong movie in the Multiverse Saga. At number 4 we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This movie is so good. This was one of those movies that I had difficult walking out of the theatre going like, is this a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out? Is this an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10? Because I was like, I'm struggling if I prefer this more than Guardians 2. Because, like, Guardians 2 for me, I love. I think that it's a great time. I think that the jokes hit and everything. This movie is more of an emotional movie. Which is why I don't rewatch it a lot. Because it's emotional. Like, Rocket, you think Rocket's gonna die, you think all this stuff's gonna happen, and you're like, oh my god, what's going on? Which is crazy to me. So, that's a very emotional thing, and I'm not a big fan of the villain, High Evolutionary. And like, so like that storyline was kind of weird to me. The action, of course, was very great. It's a Guardians movie. James Gunn is, like, does no wrong when it comes to his movies. I think that, this movie kind of ended in a way that, like, was like, yeah, all the Guardians are doing their own separate things. You still have the new Guardians with, like, Rocket, Kraglin, Groot, Cosmo, and, the chick that was, captured on the High Evolutionary ship. But then you have Star-Lord on Earth, and it says the legendary Star-Lord will return. So, a lot of the character stories are open-ended, in terms of the new Guardians and Star-Lord. I'm curious to see what they do with that, because Guardians 3 to me is a solid movie, and I love how they did that. I think it was absolutely incredible. Coming in number 3, we have Spider-Man Brand New Day. Yes, Brand New Day is such a good movie. I was shocked that I got this high, because it was one of those movies that I was like walking out of it, I was like, wow, this was really good. I just loved it. It had all the twists and turns that I expected, because you gotta remember too, going into Brand New Day, all of us, even me, were like, okay, are you really bringing back Nan and MJ? Like, because I was interested in seeing something like Black Cat, and I was big into, like, Samara Weaving being Black Cat, who's actually going to be Emma Frost, which is very exciting. Sydney Sweeney or someone like that. But no, like, this movie was absolutely amazing, and actually made me go like, yeah, you know what? I actually didn't mind Nan and MJ being in it. And I loved all the Punisher stuff. Like, I haven't seen the Punisher show or the special, the One Last Kill special. So, walking into it, I was like, you know what, Punisher was great. Now, it actually wants me to go watch the show. I thought that the Yelena stuff was really good, but I was also like, we've kind of done this storyline with Spider-Man. Can we kind of use Yelena for something else in this movie? I thought that the Jean Grey stuff was incredible. I thought the sister stuff was kind of like, really? Are we doing that? But overall, I actually really liked the Jean Grey stuff. I thought that like, this is easily some of the best action we've seen out of Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. Like, Daniel Disencrantz, between this and Shang-Chi, he knows how to do action. And you can tell. Like, a lot of the action in this movie, you can tell was clearly inspired by the PlayStation Spider-Man games, which was amazing. And I loved how they used that. And so, watching it, you're like, oh my god, this is absolutely amazing. And the street levelness was also great. Because, like, we've never seen Tom Holland Spider-Man be street level, except for Homecoming. Homecoming was the only one that you're like, this is street level, but it also, like, doesn't feel too street level. Because, like, he's not swinging around like crazy, which we actually get proper web swing, which is great in this movie. I thought that was so good, and, like, also having Hulk was also really, really good in this movie, even though I didn't mind the Smart Hulk stuff. Overall in the MCU, I can't get why they had to revert back to... I can't get why they had to go back to Rage Hulk, and I actually really liked that. We haven't seen him since 2018, so that was really, really great. Yeah, I thought that it was absolutely great seeing a Spider-Man movie that was, like, really great again. We haven't gotten that in about 5 years. So, yeah, it was so good seeing, like, having a Spider-Man movie that's, like, between Thunderbolts, Fantastic Four, and Brand New Day, we're like, we're back. We're excited for Doomsday. So, yeah, I'm very excited to see what happens next with Doomsday. Coming at number 2, we have Deadpool and Wolverine. Repping my boy on my jumper today. But yeah, no, like, Deadpool and Wolverine, this is another movie that I feel like nowadays has gotten way too much hate. You have, like, all these people going like, oh, it's offensive to cinema, it's not a good movie, blah, blah, blah. It's like, the way that I view Deadpool and Wolverine is that it's working the rules of a comedy, not in the rules of an action movie. Like, the fact that it's working the rules of a comedy, like, and it calls out, like, the multiverse is not working and things like that, and, like, I think it's been steadily great since Endgame. Like, the quotes, I quote this movie a lot. Me and my dad quote this movie a lot. We quote all the Deadpool movies. But, like, seeing Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine was absolutely amazing. And, like, the fact that it didn't tarnish Logan was so good. And I think that the way they tell his backstory of him and the X-Men is like, yeah, when you watch it, you're like, I want to know more. But I think we're going to get more of that when we get to Doomsday and Secret Wars, because we actually get... Because we actually got most of the X-Men cast confirmed in terms of Cyclops, Nightcrawler, Mystique, Professor X, Magneto, things like that. So it's going to be very exciting to see what Wolverine's going to be like around him, going like, if he's going to hug Professor, if he's going to hug Scott. Like, it's going to be very exciting. And I think that, like, what I love about the Multiverse Saga in this movie is that, and we'll kind of talk about this with my number 1, which you guys know what my number 1 is. If you guys watch my Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, my Spider-Man ranking, you clearly know what my number 1 is. But what I love about these multiverse movies, especially Deadpool and Wolverine, my number 1 that we'll get to in a minute, is that this, especially with the X-Men side of things, right? This is what I wanted the MCU to be. Because there was a post-credit scene shot in 2008 of Nick Fury coming out and doing the whole, like gamma radiation, spider bites, and so on, mutants were enough. If they kept that, that means that we would actually gone the X-Men, Hulk, and Spider-Man 2002 connected to this universe, which is crazy. So yeah, I thought that was absolutely amazing. So, like, the fact that they didn't go with that and the rights were a thing, I was like, yeah, the Multiverse Saga is probably the proper way that you need to bring them back in. The fact that they came back in, they did that, I was like, this is absolutely amazing. I love how they did. And I actually really liked how Sean Levy directed it. I like the action more than most people. I love the opening. I love the fights. The fight with Gambit, Elektra, Blade, in X-23 with Deadpool and Wolverine. I love the one shot. I love how this movie basically was subverting expectations with all the marketing. Like, we didn't know anything about Elektra, Blade, Gambit, or X-23, or even Johnny Storm, which that was the one that got me the most. Even though that, like, you heard him and you're like, you heard the Cap thing, and I'm like, who the hell is this? And then, like, to be honest, they got me, even though that I knew that we were probably more likely getting Johnny than more likely to get Johnny in Deadpool Wolverine than Captain America. They still got me because he had the dark blue, cloak on, and like things that Captain America would wear, like red and white bandages and stuff. I was like, oh my god, Cap! And then like when Deadpool's doing his whole bit of like, he's like, CEO on Rain Dick for Brains, and he's like, oh my god, he's going to say what? Haha, he's going to say Avengers of Flame On! Sorry, what now? I was like, what? This is bonkers! Like, yes! We're actually seeing the good Fantastic Four in the MCU. Because we actually heard of the... I think that was around the casting. Yeah, I think we did hear the casting a little bit before. So, the casting of the Fantastic Four First Steps was still weighing on me. So, the fact that we actually got to see my favourite version of Johnny Storm, I was like, oh my god, yes! No one can beat you, Chris Evans. You are the person that will play Johnny in my mind till the end of time. But yeah, I thought that was so good, and I thought that, like, the final battle in Deadpool Wolverine actually grew on me a lot. I was like, oh my god, this movie actually rocks with its final battle with the one shot. I thought it was so good. It was absolutely amazing. So yeah, I love Deadpool Wolverine. It was so good. Coming number 1, we have Spider-Man No Way Home. No Way Home is so good. I've said so many things about No Way Home so far, but like again, what I love about this movie is that this movie is about second chances. It's about second chances for the villains. It's about saying goodbye, in some aspects, saying goodbye to Toby and Andrew. They actually didn't get proper farewells in their movies. So I love how they used Toby and Andrew in this movie. I think the jokes are really, really good. I'm shocked that people hate No Way Home, which I don't get at all. I thought that they did all the references in a way that wasn't cheap. The references were actually clever. Like, they'll actually listen to fans going like, oh, I hope he says this. So you actually go like you know what? I'm something of a scientist myself. So it's one of those things like, and you also have those moments that like put you back into your memories of watching the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, and even the TASM movies, because like you watch that ending bit and you see Toby coming out of the portal, you're like, oh my god, Toby! And then you watch Andrew come out of the portal first, and you're like, ah, oh my god! And then like you see the bit on the Statue of Liberty when Electro is talking to Andrew, and you see the bit that is actually Toby talking to Ock, and he's doing the whole bit of like, you're all grown up. How are you? And Toby's like, trying to do better. Like he did in Spider-Man 2. Like, that was so good. And then like also like interlacing Doctor Strange as well was also really, really cool. I like how No Way Home even solidified that these actors that played the previous villains are the best versions we're going to get. Like, in terms of Molina, Dafoe, even Thomas Hayden Church, and Electro, even though I think you could do better with Lizard. The only disappointing thing is that it's the retcon that Venom 3 did. Because at the end of Venom 2, Venom taps into the multiversal mind of the symbiote. So I took that as, Venom, Tom Hardy's Venom, tapped into the mind of the symbiote of Topher Grace's Venom in Spider-Man 3. So now he knows who Peter Parker is. So then it glitched. It went to the MCU because of the spell. And then, of course, we get that whole scene in Venom 2 where he licks the screen and stuff and goes like, let go. But then we just get the whole bit where he's just drunk at the end, which is a funny scene. I laugh every single time. But then at the end, where he goes back, he's like, oh, maybe I need to go speak to the Spider-Man, and he starts disappearing. I was like, oh my god, yes. In the third movie, he's going to go try and find his version of Spider-Man, and then it's like, no, let's not do that. Because like the way they do it in Venom: The Last Dance wasn't even the spell that brings him back, some weird teleportation thing. I was like, what the hell? Like that was the only thing that bugs me about that ending, is because they didn't follow through with it with Venom: The Last Dance. But yeah, no, I thought that it was a great way to at least have the symbiote there, so then we can get ready for Doomsday and Secret Wars and down the road. So, thank you guys. Thank you for listening to me ramble for an hour. Hopefully it's not an hour. Hopefully I'll cut this down. But yeah, so guys, please hit the like button down below if you aren't already. Subscribe, press the little bell icon to get notified future videos I make. I still have a ranking of all the MCU Spider-Man characters and side characters coming, and Spider-Man villains coming. So, guys, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye.
Hey there. Subscribe to my channel. And also press this bell icon.